Hello and welcome to Losing the 50, the podcast all about gacha games and the people who love them. Most importantly, Zenless Zone Zero. Oh my god. Shall I retake this or no?
Keep it going, brother. Keep it going.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know where that came from. This is Losing the 50. Hello. And today I'm joined by regular co-hosts Shanaha and Kete the 7th, and special guest Azrial Vanity for the 1.6 spoiler cast. Can we get a woot woot?
Let's go lore!
Yeah.
Okay, let's go lore. Let's go lore. So, Azrial Vanity, do you want to introduce yourself first? Because you're the guest here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my name is Azrial Vanity, as you said. I stream on Twitch and YouTube. I mainly do Zenless lore. I'm a little lacking on videos, but I stream and discuss lore like every single time a new patch drops and any new stories. So, yeah, any lore heads, come chill out.
And that's what you're doing here on the 1.6 spoiler cast Losing the 50 special. Nice. Okay, Kete, say hi.
Yo, what's up? It's a little bit different this time around. We're finally doing it at a good time for me and a bad time for gamers. So he's gonna be the tired one.
Hey, I've got my tea. I'm high energy over here. I'm feeling good. Shanna, say hi.
Dog, it's worse for me. I'm an hour ahead of gamer. It's 1:20 a.m. for me. But
Okay,
thankfully,
yeah.
I did just hop off of a stream, so I am somewhat high energy. That's right, I do stream, and I also make videos about news and also occasionally lore when it appeases me. And trust me, 1.6 has appeased me a lot.
That sounds a little bit. Anyway, I'm average
Dude, like,
gamer.
listen, I was geeking out hard. Okay, no, I'm just gonna say that.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm average like gamer, and today I am more tired, and Kete is more alive, and that is good for him, and hopefully that'll be interesting. I think that just as part of the intro, we should also mention that Azrial Vanity and Shanaha are the Loreheads here, and Kete and I are more kind of on the casual side when it comes to the story and stuff. We kind of just go through it. We take it for what it is. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of questions. But first things first, then, guys, what happened in 1.6? Let's do a story rundown. Like, what actually happened?
Yeah, so Shauna, I was gonna say you said you wanted to do a recap. So if you want to do your recap, and then I can add comments if not.
I'll give a very brief TLDR because I did make a video about it, but I'm sure Azriel, you've had like big streams about it, so I'm sure you've gone into way more depth. But TLDR, we meet Hugo. He introduces himself. He says he's trying to hunt for some stuff. He's like, okay, cool, whatever. And then we get called up by the mayor, who is apparently the owner of Victoria Housekeeping. I was gonna say spoiler alert. If it wasn't clear already, spoiler alert. By the way, for 1.6.
Oh, yeah, we'll call it the 1.6 spoiler cast. Yeah. So I think they'll understand.
Part of the,
yeah.
The mayor, who is part of the Mayweather family, owns Victoria Housekeeping, and as such, Lycan and Ellen then come to us and say, "Oh, the mayor has a message for us." The mayor apparently knew Carol Arner, who was our teacher and like our mother figure back at the academy, the Helios Academy. And he said that he wants to try and carry on with her work, in which the implants in our eyes was sort of helping suppress some powers in us, or they were trying to find out ways to stop this suppressive effect. One of the ways that they are doing this is by upgrading the HDD system. And so now with the HDD system being upgraded, we are no longer, or our ether aptitude has gotten better, so we can now go back into the hollows. So that's sad. We no longer need EOS. We're going in the hollows ourselves. Okay, cool. That's it. Then the mayor then says we need to try and we need to try and go to an auction to bid on a coat that has a special sacrifice core in it. The reason being is because if the sacrifice core is like gone into the wrong hands, then they can launch an attack on New Eridu with some sacrifices or something like that. So we go, okay, cool. Hugo ends up giving us a ticket. We go and we meet Vivian, who, spoiler alert, is part of Mockingbird. Then
Mockingbird?
At the auction, okay, we don't manage to get the coat. Instead, Hugo steals it because he is a phantom thief and he is also part of Mockingbird. Wow, shocker. Then, in the meantime, there's a lot. We go back to Neps with Shuyen and we try and figure out more about Bringer. Why did he become a bad guy? Because he used to be a good guy. He used to be an upstanding citizen. That's why Shuyen looked up to him so much. And it turns out he was sort of manipulated or corrupted when he was in a hollow as he was on the brink of death. And he suddenly started to realize, The creator has the answers. We should embrace these hollows. We should not fight back against them. Then we also realize that Vivian has a special power, and that is that she can see death, misfortune, plague, disease as sort of visions coming up in the future. But now that we know all of this, and we've gotten this information about Bringer, and we know about some possible locations for where the sacrifice core could be taken, we go and we try and find some of these cores to, stop the bad guys before they get there. Turns out that was a mistake though, because maybe Hugo double-crossed us? ? But it turns out that somebody from Tops, who is like a conglomerate of very wealthy companies and sort of like a direct competitor to the Mayweather family, they arrive there at the scene of the crime and they're like, thank you for leading us here to the sacrifice. But then that's when we realize Hugo double crosses us, but then there's a double cross where Hugo then actually threatens us at knife point and demands we hand over the sacrifice core. But keeping us nice and safe, we have Lycan by our side, who stabs Lycan through the heart and drops him off the side of a building, possibly to his death. And then we come out all safe and sound. However, as we're walking away, Vivian has a vision. And remember, she only sees plague, death, misfortune, bad things. In her vision, she sees Phaethon, us, falling from the sky with wings on our back. And she's like holding her hand out to us. And that's the big cliffhanger.
Okay,
Yeah, so
that was pretty sick.
A lot happened in this story.
Yeah. And that's just part 1, by the way. 1.7 is going to be part 2.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
It was a cool story. I don't know how much of it I got from actually playing the story, because sometimes I feel like there's so much stuff in between that I kind of forget what's happening. Do you guys feel the same, or is that just me?
If it's any game that's not Zenless, then yes. But if it's a game that I'm like, I have a hyper fixation on, where I'm trying to dissect literally every line that they say, because Zenless has a habit of giving throwaway lines that are important later. For
especially
example,
with the way they've been highlighting them all, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. It is nice that they've been highlighting stuff now. But for an example of when they didn't highlight it, in chapter 3, when we first kind of met Victoria Housekeeping, when Billy and the rest of the Cunning Hares were going to board the airship, Billy mentions that he bought a new air intake thing, and he couldn't turn it off, which seemed like a joke at the time, but ended up being extremely important because of that new air intake that he bought that didn't work. He was the only one that didn't pass out in the airship, and he was able to pilot it. So little throwaway lines like that can be important if you actually can make the connection. So I try my best to pay attention to everything.
That's pretty.
I will say
cool.
though, I do understand what you mean, though, Gamer, because just from that recap alone, in this story, there's a lot of jumping around between story points. Like I said, you meet Hugo, and then there's this auction thing, but then there's this hollow thing with the mayor.
Yeah,
but then
and
there's
then
this
and
thing
then you
with,
go over to
Bringer.
the Neps, and you're hanging out with G1, and it's like, what is happening? Yeah, like I feel
and then
like
you get distracted by
sometimes,
Shian's cake, and then it's like, whoa, what was I doing again?
what was happening here? Yeah. Okay. Well, how do we feel about just in general though? Like, and I think you guys are probably better placed to answer this. Like, how do we feel about the 1.6 story in general? Like, do we think it was good? Do we think it's setting up some interesting stuff, or are we kind of like, it was okay? I'm not really. Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was decent in length. In fact, I think it's the longest story chapter that we've had in a long time, which is crazy for it being part 1 of an epilogue. But I think the writing was really good. I think there was a few topics that definitely could have been written a little bit better, which we can get into when we actually get around to it. But it's mainly revolving around the Exaltists, due to the fact that they haven't really mentioned them in game besides one event, and they didn't even go by the Exaltist at the time. So for those that don't follow the lore like to a T, they probably had no idea. Like, example, did you know who the Exaltists were during this?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Which, to be honest, is not your fault. Even if you're not a lore person, that's not your fault there. But I really like the writing of Hugo. He's super fun, and it's nice to see that they still kept his like phantom thiefy personality that we assumed that he would have. Vivian's story was really good as well. I really liked that she had that kind of emotional aspect to her power, which they didn't really go into exactly how she has that power, which we can talk about that later also. But yeah, I think it was written really well. Gameplay aspects, I'm still missing the TV. I don't know how y'all felt about the TV,
Dude,
but there were
Azriel, my brother in arms.
Yeah,
well,
I actually
Azriel, I actually
go on, Kate.
go ahead,
what?
gamer. Go ahead, gamer.
No, I actually I have some things to say about the TV, and I think we don't miss the TV. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. We miss the all killer no filler that was 1.4. Is how I feel about it. So I think 1.4 was like lightning in a bottle, like perfect story moment for Zenless Zone Zero. Miyabi, everyone was coming together. It was sick. It was also much shorter than 1.6. And I think the reason why it was much shorter than 1.6 is because there was no filler. Like they just pulled the TV stuff out and then they were just like, that'll do. And I actually think that was better than what we got in 1.6, which here we go. I kind of spoiling how I feel about 1.6 is that I did like the story. I liked the characters, but I hated the, now we got to go here and like press 3 buttons. And then,
Yeah.
When we were in the
so
huddle
that's what I was
ourselves, right?
gonna bring up too.
Yeah.
When we had to input the code or whatever.
Yeah.
There's that, and then at the end of the story, when everyone is like in the ballet twins, and we have to like redo the circuit, and it's just doing a circle and the little mini game, which that's not a great replacement for the TV mode. But
that's
in the
perfect
aspect of
examples for Fairy and
1.4,
EOS,
yeah. But yeah, in 1.4, like you mentioned, it didn't feel bad that the TV was missing. But how did you feel about the Outer Ring story? Because that didn't have the TV. How'd you feel about that one?
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, I liked that one too, but yeah, I preferred 1.4. I think
Okay, I really missed the TV in that one, and
Oh,
the
okay.
Outer Ring one.
yeah, I think for me it's like the big story updates is from 1.4, 1.2, 1.6 in that order for me. 1.4 top, 1.2 next, and then 1.6. Sorry, Kete, I spoke over you twice there. Carry on.
no, you're good, man. I feel like I'm the bad guy here
Oh,
because
okay.
I didn't start truly paying attention to the ZZZ story until TV mode was gone. I know. I mean, I know. But
I can't believe
1.2,
this.
1.2 was genuinely the first story in ZZZ where I did not skip anything. I actually sat down and like read through every single line of text, and I played the whole thing and I paid attention. I still pay attention to the story today, but there's like certain aspects that I think I just have too small of a rat brain to understand. Like they'll say stuff, I'm like, did I miss something in the like? Did I gloss over something in the back? Where the fuck did this come from? Like, did I miss something important? Because like I don't understand this part. That's how I feel.
I mean, I feel
don't
like that
really
all the
miss
time though. So
For me too, the thing is with TV mode, Azriel, you gotta understand. I don't hate TV mode. I just thought they broke up the amount of TV to gameplay was unbalanced. If they would have
It was
balanced
not
it better,
well made.
Yeah.
if they would have balanced it better,
It's
I
a
would have
fine
had no
line.
yeah,
I mean,
like,
coming
when
back to the
you're-
1.2 example, I think 1.2 was also a rough part of how TV was implemented because, at least for me, a lot of the scenarios where you're walking between like little combat areas and the agents are talking between each other, those end up getting interrupted because it's so quick to like go to the next area. And I think like that is a nice place where they could have slotted in a small little TV section, do a little like tidbit to like let you actually stop and hear the thoughts between the different characters, which in 1.4 there was like, I think they perfected that where there was no real like loss of dialogue between areas that you're moving around. So I think, like I said, it's a fine line.
Yeah. And I will say with how they did 1.6 and the fact that one of the siblings can enter the hollow right now. Well, I guess technically both, but only one of them did. They actually have unironically set them up to perfectly bring the TV system back in a way to replace the puzzles. Because we could still bring EOS with us and let the sibling pilot EOS as kind of like a little RC car to fit through small spaces to like fix wiring or whatever. And in those instances, you would switch to the sibling's POV, which would be the TV system. And then the normal sibling would still be whatever. But they don't have to do that. I know there's still a huge. It's so funny still seeing all the
It's a
debates
touchy
between.
thing,
Yeah, the TV system is a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think like the dev team might be kind of against it though, because I think that because of the pushback against it, I went back. I remember when they removed the TV mode, and I played the 1.0 on like a new account, and they've actually like not only like minimized it, but they've replaced it with you running around as EOS, you know, kind of like you do in the Bang Boo Fall Guys stuff, but like you know, going to unlock stuff. So yeah, I could see them doing that but I kind of think that they might go for more of the Bang Boo jumping around kind of vibe as
They
opposed
definitely will.
yeah, as opposed to the TV mode. Not that I have a bias one way or the other, because I actually wouldn't mind TV mode coming back as long as they balanced it right, like we were already talking about. But I think that they'll probably go more in the direction of just let them jump around, you know, like little Mario.
Yeah,
like,
and
so.
I don't like have anything bad against the jumping around thing. Like that little Mario EOS mini game was really fun. In fact, that was like the main thing that you did in Millinoe. Like the little side event where that was like how you hacked into a bunch of the databases was doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to them having that instead. That is better than having that little just moving a character in a circle on a tile board to go to one spot to fix fix a circuit. But yeah, before we go more into the TV thing and sidetrack,
we are way sidetracked. Yeah.
yeah. Don't worry, I'll bring us back on point. Since we went over what the story was and I explained how I thought about it. If you wanted to talk about your guys' opinions on it, or if you want to ask any questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've kind of already said my piece. I feel like 1.6, I didn't like it as much as 1.4 or 1.2 or 1.5. I honestly felt like it was too long.
It was very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of setup, like we said. I'm assuming it's going to be worth it. I'm hoping it's going to be worth it once the 1.7 pod comes out, but yeah.
Yeah, and to be clear, I didn't dislike it, and I really liked the characters. I just felt like the actual story was like, it just kind of dragged on, and there was a lot of it, and I really hope it's setting up something good, if that makes sense, as opposed to just being, you know, more drawn out nothingness. As in, like, I hope the second half in 1.7 is like actually banger. Kete, what do you think?
When Hugo and Lycan fought,
Yeah, oh yeah.
My respect for Lycan went up tenfold. I knew he was like, you know, a skilled fighter, but I was not expecting that, man. I feel like if Bell didn't step between them, I think Lycan would have actually won that. Genuinely. Because he had him
such
like
a good fight.
He had him like, you know, pinned up against the wall. Like he could have easily killed him, and then like, you know, he paused for a second, he hesitated.
I mean, arguably he can easily kill him.
Yeah, like I was like, oh my god, like my respect for Lycan just, I already liked him as a character, but yeah, they really did him justice in that. They really did him justice. I was like, damn, I was not ready for that. I thought Hugo was gonna be like a hard fight. No, Lycan was kind of soft diffing him, you know? I was like, wait a minute.
I do wish we got more of that fight, but yeah, I mean, seeing that fight and then them not revealing the fact, like in the actual like boss fight mechanics while playing, because the first fight he could parry, but when he time stopped, like time slowed in the actual boss fight, that was so fucking hype. Like the fact that they hid that from the first fight was such a good idea because it hit so hard when you were doing it in the final.
Yeah,
final
I
round.
agree. Yeah, the actual fights against him were really cool, actually. Yeah. But Kete, like, I mean, that was a hype moment, though. But you know, overall, how you think? Where does it stack up? You know, I feel like we kind of already chatted about that a bit, but where does it stack up for you?
I think it's my third favorite update patch 4 story so far. But I'm kind of biased on my favorite. I think 1.4 was better, but 1.6 is technically second.
If 1.6 is your third, what is, and 1.4 is like second, what's first?
Like I said, I'm super biased because I'm a SOC simp.
I mean, his profile picture is lighter, so I mean, we kind of saw that one coming, guys. Yeah. Shanna, did we?
So like,
Oh, go on. Shanna, did we say where it sucked up for you?
So, like I'm also kind of honestly, I'm also in the 1.2 camp, mainly because of like it's hard for this patch because it's half a story, right? So like you said, gamer, it's like maybe we have to wait until 1.7 to see, but like right now it's like only the first half, and also the story for me. We'll probably get to it when we talk about Hugo a bit more, but like it's cool because it set up a lot of information, and it's cool because it had like the Greek mythology tie-ins with Vivian, but the Hugo aspect of it was kind of a bit too cliche for me. His backstory is cool and all, but Hugo's actual involvement in the story was a bit too cliche for me.
Hmm. And Az, did you say it was your favorite, or am I misremembering that?
It's very close. I mean, I still think 1.4 in terms of just the amount of dopamine that was running through my body while playing 1.4 was
Exactly.
a little insane. So yeah, but 1.6 is definitely either equal or like literally right below. Just because I really like when the story is long but doesn't feel like filler, which I know for a lot of people who don't pay attention to the story, a lot of that probably felt like filler. But being able to see all the different character interactions was so nice. Like being able, that's the one thing that I absolutely love that Zenless does really well is character interactions. And so seeing so many different characters interact in so many different scenarios, and seeing all the different dialogues was super fun. For example, like they could have cut out the entire part where you are walking around as it was either Hugo or Lycon, I can't remember, and you keep running into each other at different stores.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
good,
like
actually.
that shit was so funny, but they didn't have to do that. Like they could have cut out an extra. Well, I don't know how fast it took you to go through that. I yap
20,
on
30
stream,
minutes, I
so to
guess,
go
yeah.
through, yeah, it was like 30 minutes for me to go through that because I kept laughing and talking about the interactions. But yeah, so 1.6, even though it is still technically half the story, or the ideas that it's setting up, it makes me excited for what will happen at 1.7. So if the execution of 1.7 like hits, then it might surpass 1.4 for me.
Nice. Okay.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Hmm.
How do y'all feel about Vivian being the biggest faith and simp in the entire world?
I love it.
I thought it was really funny. I the entire time, anytime there was like the options of hinting that we were Faith in, I did the opposite. I was really hoping that she would never find out that we were Faith in.
Same. I was like, I kind of, it's kind of sad that we got spoiled. Like, it's
The
sad that we
illusion
got
of
spoiled,
choice.
but at the same time, because like we wouldn't see that side where she suddenly gets like super hyper with us. Because before she's like, oh, you're not Faith in though, so it's whatever. The moment she realizes Faith, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really funny. I was afraid they were going to go too down the mole route from Soldier 11's agent mission, where he's like, I can smell you. Like just the weirdo across the mic, but I feel like they did it in a more tasteful way than what the mole did. And the way that she found out, I was okay with because it literally makes sense for her to just realize that we are who we are.
Yeah, I like it. I think I like it when girls simp for me. You know, I'm a simple man.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing.
But the question is, like, there's two of us, so what's she gonna do? Take both of them with her everywhere? There's two of us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, she'll just live with us.
I think she just moves in, right?
That's what I was saying. She should have been permanently on the couch until the next update, since she technically is living on the couch right now. But I think it helps that they gave her a character before that happened. They didn't start off with her sipping for Faith in. They actually showed us who she was as a person, gave us her backstory, showed that she actually has depth to a character besides, oh my god, Faith in, I love you. And then that was just kind of like a little, payoff thing because
+1,
even at the end of the story, like where she was staying like with us, that dialogue, she wasn't just constantly being like, oh my god, like I'm gonna stay with Faith in. She's like, oh my god, Hugo might be dead, but like I don't think so, so I need to look into stuff. And she wasn't like just only thinking about Faith in that moment, which was nice.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so here's the thing I really want to ask about. Who, like you mentioned it earlier, and I really want to know, who are the Exaltists?
Yes.
That's a good question.
Yeah, so the Exaltists are basically a cult-like group that worships ether and hollows. They want to basically bring about the quote age of hollows and essentially see Ether as the next evolution for humankind. So they were brought up in the lore trailer for Zenless way back when. Like I think this was still in 1.0 when they dropped the lore trailer. This
Was
is
that
where they
like
talk
where
about
the Voidhunters and stuff?
Yes, yeah, the
Oh,
original
okay.
7 Voidhunters were mentioned there, and they mentioned that the Swordmaster took down the
Defeated them,
Exaltist
yeah. The
Overseer.
head, I think?
Yeah,
Oh.
Head of
the
the cult.
Overseer,
Yeah.
which we don't we assume is like technically the leader, yeah. But that was the only time that they had called it the Exaltist, because if I'm remembering correctly from the CN side that told me, in the CN version of that trailer, it was not called the Exaltist. It did say the Order, which
Yeah.
we got
And
the Order
I think they specifically
mentioned.
used the word the cult as well, like, or something about
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. And then there was, I think it was what was it, 1.4 or 1.3? We got into the Ether event where Nicole gave us a computer and we had to like defeat viruses or whatever, and it was just like a little mini game, but it was unbelievably lore heavy. It was a computer that they found in Hollow Zero, and it was basically the notes, like the diary of a person in the defense force named Spacebar. And in that diary, he mentions just basically TLDR. It was him talking about his time in the defense force and then them having to deal with the fall of the old capital, and him seeing a group that was basically worshiping Ether and staying like around. And he couldn't remember their name, but it was something, the Order. And so that was the only time
Right.
that the Order had ever really been mentioned in game. That event, that event I think was live for like 2 weeks. And it's not permanent. It's not in like the Redo Chronicles. So that is no longer in the game. So if you didn't play it at that time and you didn't look, because it wasn't voiced, if you didn't like read the notes that you were getting after defeating the viruses, then you would have completely missed that, which they need to fix that. They need to either bring that event back and make it permanent or something, because I'm not a fan of when games make events be lore relevant and then not have it in the game. Like make it go away.
Meanwhile, you have Cheesetopia as a permanent
True,
thing.
true. Yeah, true. But yeah, so they that was the only time that they were mentioned in game, and they were mentioned as the Order before. But then we got to see a little bit more of their ideology in 1.4. I don't think they ever once said the Order or the Exaltist in 1.4. But in case it wasn't clear at this point, Bringer and Sarah do indeed like work for the Exaltists. When Bringer injects himself, he literally yells out like bringing about the Age of Hollows. So it just fits.
And I mean, even in the story as well, like we said, Bringer used to be a good guy, but then he had that vision in the Hollow, like, and then that's when he starts to say, "Oh, yes, instead of fighting the Hollows, we should embrace the Hollows. Oh, save me, Creator!" And then that's
So
essentially
basically, he
Yes.
becomes an Exaltist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He did become an Exaltist, yes. In his instance, I think it was a special. Well, I don't want to say a special case, but I don't think every single Exaltist was quote saved by the Creator in the way that Bringer was. But yes, we did finally get to see in 1.6 the audio file of the mission, which I'm assuming is the mission, of when he technically saved Zhu Yuan. Because that was when he went into the Hollow, gave away his gear, and somehow came out unscathed. So it just fits. That should also be the moment that he saved Zhu Yuan. But he was deathly like injured. Like he was absolutely going to die, and he got reached out to by said Creator, which showed him a vision, and then he essentially got brainwashed into becoming an Exaltist and praising the Creator and whatnot. And the Creator, we don't have much on, but we have seen parts of him in different media. So in 1.4, the hand that Bringer basically uses to attack us with is supposedly the hand from the Creator, which you can imagine how big that guy is, how big the Creator could be, because at the base of the arms swinging is a fissure, which means like it's reaching through a fissure to attack us.
Yeah.
And then in Miyabi's song, funny enough, we get to see her ancestors fighting other hands of whatever could be
Oh.
said creator.
Mm.
And then also, while Bringer did his first transformation, in the background, if you actually pull it up, there's like a big burst of energy. And while the hand is still underneath him, in the background, there's shadows of like 4 or 5 other hands that are kind of like essentially look like puppets. Like they're puppeteering the area. There's not any wires, but there's big hands in the background, which is super interesting because that doesn't really. That's the only time we've seen that, and they haven't really like brought it up anywhere else. But the creator is basically the god that the Exaltists worship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing, actually.
Okay.
There is another connection to the Exaltist in game. I guarantee you 2% of the player base has seen it. It's at the end of completing the TV event that they had. I forget what it's called. I forget what it's called every single time. The Arpeggio Fault. Yes.
Yes.
At the end of the Arpeggio
yes.
Fault, they mention there's a letter that they find that you give to Ray, and Ray mentions that in the letter it says, "May the creator like refine us," or may the creator help us, whatever. So that was another instance of like the Exaltists being in game. They just again weren't mentioned by name.
Gotcha.
Okay. Wow, I feel like that's a lot. Like,
Bro, I'm sorry if I haven't been talking as much. I'm trying to take this all in.
yeah, ditto. Ditto.
The
Same.
Exaltists are cultists that worship the creator, and the creator,
Yes.
they're trying to like expand the hollows for their creator because that is apparently going to lead to their salvation by
Okay.
having the hollows embrace us instead of like trying to push back against them.
Oh man.
So, do we think that I mean, because Hugo was kind of the bad guy here, but like the Hartman guy who was trying to get the sacrifice core from the robe thing, is he part of the Exaltists? Because he's part of Tops. Are they Exaltists? Am I trying to tie things together that shouldn't be tied together?
No, you are seeing the threads that should be seen. He is
it's
not
subtle, but yeah.
directly tied with the Exaltist, but he is in bed with the Exaltist. In fact, they quite literally say the words they're in bed with the Exaltist in 1.6, I think.
All right.
But yeah, so
See,
it is
I am
very
listening.
like yeah, you are. It's funny because there was a moment where they kind of hint at Hugo infiltrating Tops. It's when you're playing as Hugo and you overhear like kids talking about the Phantom Thieves.
Oh yeah, the schoolgirl that has to compare a random schoolgirl that has this weird conspiracy theory. Like, why are you thinking about this? You should
Yeah.
just think about your math work.
I know. Yeah, but that exact scenario, which is funny because that can be taken in multiple different ways. It can be taken as him potentially infiltrating Tops in the way that they described. It could be taken as him infiltrating the Exaltist. It can also be applied to the Exaltist infiltrating Tops. It is pretty much like, it's not confirmed, but they very heavily hint at the fact that the Exaltists are very deeply like hidden or just within Tops itself, because Tops is very corrupt, and that is probably due to the fact that the Exaltists have kind of found their way in there. In fact, it wasn't just Hartman, it was Edmund. Edmund was like the higher up Tops guy that Hartman was trying to,
All right. Yeah.
be
that rings
friends
a bell.
with.
Yeah.
And Edmund was directly stated to like have deeper ties with the Exaltist as well. So you are seeing the threads that they are connected technically.
Okay. And just to rewind a moment, I know I did it, but like, who are Tops?
They're just a
Yeah,
conglomerate
great
of
set.
Just a
very
rewind.
rich,
Just a rewind.
rich companies essentially.
Just rich companies. Okay, got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and they kind of run this.
Think of oligarchy, but
Pro
in,
gamer.
Yeah.
Okay,
in
cool.
Zenless.
Like
Gamer.
actually, it's coming back to Hugo and like his infiltration thing. That's why later on in the story, Hugo goes and meets up with some dude on 6th Street talking about an art gallery in his name. And I think if Hugo does try to infiltrate Tops, aside from spoiler alert, aside from like birthright, he's trying to like come up with a big gallery in his own name so that he can also be considered like a wealthy company, wealthy individual, so that he can also join tops, essentially, maybe as a possible,
like under his own steam.
alluding to that strategy of infiltration.
Kete, what were you gonna say?
I just wanted to say that's like the 4th time that you've asked the question that I was gonna ask. Like our brains must be linked together or something.
I think hopefully, Kete, what we're doing together is we are playing the part of the audience who are mostly like paying less attention or paying some attention. Like I feel like I've paid some attention. Like I kind of connecting some of the threads,
This
but
will
I don't
be on an exam
fully
next
understand.
week, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Will it be on the midterm? Okay, yeah, all right.
Hey, but, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Are we going to get into Soldier Anby? Because I have some questions about her.
You can ask questions about anything.
Yeah, I mean everything's open right now. Like we've put the spoiler alerts on. Like this is the spoiler cast.
The whole clone situation. I think there was parts that I didn't understand fully. Can you go through like the whole clone situation with her?
That is a lot.
Which ones? The original one or the swarm at the end?
Just
There were a lot.
Yeah, Kete's like just all of it. Can you just
Wait,
re-explain
what? There were multiple?
the whole thing that happened, please?
Wait, I think a better way would be, what parts were you confused about?
Okay, so she's Soldier Zero, right? So that means she was she was the first clone, or is that wrong?
Technically, she would probably be the first clone. I do not think we have no confirmation. They never said it, but I do not think that she was the base that all the other ones were built off of. I think
she
Anby
herself was a clone as
also
well,
a clone herself. Yeah.
So we don't
who
know
she
who
cloned
the base
off.
was?
Yeah. Sorry,
we
did
don't
we just
know
ask the
who
same
the
question?
original was. The biggest lead that I have for some, I will say, I don't know why people started thinking this. I haven't responded to any comments that said it because I've been trying to figure it out first. For some reason, people thought that Charon, like the leader Charon that was in Trigger's story, was who it was based off of.
I think it's just because they look similar.
Yeah, I think that too. I don't really know where that connection came from, but I will say, me personally, I don't see that. I think it was the doctor that was in Anby's teaser that told her to,
because her name is
like,
Anne as well, so it's Anne and then Anby.
Yes, exactly. And she also had the hair strand, and the way that she like talked about Anby being her favorite, it was just weird. The way she said it, like it was very vibey of like she sees them as like her but less. So I do think it was based off of like that doctor. But there is also the argument that they were trying to achieve like perfectionism. So like, why would they do it off a random doctor? Like, was the doctor actually important? Was it? I saw some theories that they think they were trying to replicate one of the previous Voidhunters, which I can see, but I don't think it was. But yeah, technically, we don't have an actual confirmation of who the original that they took DNA from was. But yeah.
Imagine if we get Voidhunter Anby as well. Just putting it out there. Like
yeah, our first double S agent.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
Right. How pissed that would be. I would actually be so pissed. Yeah, because like
imagine if she's another like electric attack agent. She's just actually good.
I don't so
brutal.
Into my, like, and then they just make a better one. Come on.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So yeah, do you want to go back to any more of the Anby stuff, Kete? Yeah, because
I was gonna say, did you have any other questions?
Oh yeah. So the relationship with Soldier 11 and Anby, I was kind of like confused. So Anby basically sacrificed herself for her, right? Is that how it worked?
Yeah. Which I don't want to take all the discussion. So Shanaha, if you wanna describe this one.
So yeah, essentially the whole project of like the Anby stuff was that they wanted one copy, and that's why they're doing all those tests. So in the trailer video, that's why we assume that Soldier Zero was also a clone, because she was also being put through those tests to see, are you a good soldier? And one of the most important things was, will they have absolute loyalty? So if you tell them, okay, now kill yourself, will they do it? Which I think in one of the videos, like Anby does do it, but I think she survives or something, or they rebuild her because they're like, oh,
they rebuild
good,
her.
she listened to us, she's good, let's rebuild her. And then because they decided that this Soldier Zero, Soldier Anby, was the one, they said, well, we don't need the others anymore. So get rid of the others instead. But Anby was like, no, I don't want to. Like, I think in the video, she's standing in front of Soldier 11's tank. And she's like, no, instead, I'll kill myself again to stop you from, so now that you have to use Soldier 11, essentially. So they're like in the story, it's kind of alluded as if it's like, or she even mentions like she's supposed to be like the commander or something like that. They were technically speaking equals, but Anby decided to sacrifice herself so that Soldier 11 could be the one that lives, essentially.
Yeah, and to expand on that, there was actually two separate instances. There was one where they said, "Oh my God, we could just keep her," and then they didn't because she got hit, and that was during the demo. And then the reason why they like basically put everyone out on a suicide mission was because they wanted to see who would be the last one to live. Soldier 11 didn't get to partake in that mission, and because Anby survived, the Silver Company was being shut down. They mentioned that that entire like thing is being shut down, and they can only keep one copy. So they sent them out on that mission to see who would be the last one standing. But because there were technically two, because Anby survived, then it was Soldier 11 and Anby, and they're like, "All right, well, you're clearly like the GOAT, so we're just gonna kill Soldier." And then that's when Anby was like, "No," kills herself instead. That way, Soldier would be the only one.
Oh.
Okay, so
And then
maybe
they dump her into like a random hollow, and then Nicole finds her.
I'm so sorry for being stupid. Forgive me.
No.
Okay, what you just said, she killed herself, but Nicole found her alive? Wait, what?
So she like slit her throat, and then they were like, okay, well, clearly she's defective, so let's, because at the end of the day, she was not loyal to them after all. So they're like, well, then we have no use for her, so let's toss her out.
To answer what I think you're confused about, the idea is that because she was Anne's favorite, the doctor, while she did technically throw her away, she did repair her first, and that's why she's technically alive. Because if you look back at when she wakes up from the hollow, there's no blood on her, which means she probably looked like she got cleaned up a little bit. So while that doctor probably has no heart with the way that she was smiling and blushing at the fact that Anby killed herself originally, I think it was more of blushing about the fact that they finally have a good product. But I do think that she did not actually want to throw Anby away, and so she probably repaired Anby and then threw her into the hollow just to, like, yes, she'll probably die in the hollow, but there's a slight chance she may not.
Yeah,
and
because she knows that she's like capable, so like maybe she can fend for herself.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Are we gonna talk about the trigger story?
we can.
Has everybody here done the trigger story?
Yeah.
Is that a yes, or is that a you're okay with us speaking about it?
It's a I did it. I did go through it. I did go through it.
Azrial.
Yeah.
Thoroughly explain Trigger's eyesight to me. I hadn't heard 3 different stories. So like did she get hit by an ether enemy and now her eyes are just fucked up? Is that
Pretty
all
much.
of it?
That's pretty much it.
That's quite literally it.
Yeah, that's literally it. During the mission that they went into Hollow Zero when they were fighting Nineveh, whether it was Nineveh herself or just one of the swarms, whatever, she was directly hit in the eyes by an ether beam, and it corrupted her eyes.
She was hit by an ether beam, and then I think she fell off her perch, and then she was like unconscious. So like that probably also played into it as well.
Yeah.
So what's the lore behind her being able to see?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Daredevil-esque shit where because she lost her sight, all the other senses, which this happens IRL, by the way. When you lose one of your senses, all your other senses that you have remaining are heightened to kind of like make up for the fact that you lost one of your senses. It's just since we're in a video game, that shit's cranked up on crack mode. So she basically just has heightened senses, but it's also merging with the ether corruption, and she can feel ether fluctuations. She can basically read people's energy off of the ether around them.
So that's how she can be so accurate with her rifle.
Yeah,
and also how she can tell when people are like on the brink of death, and that's why she like plays the harmonica as they are like dying, essentially, because she knows like, oh, they're about to die. Let me play this for you, essentially.
Okay, because in her demo, at the very end when she shot the bullet through that dude's rocket launcher. I was like,
yeah.
ain't no, I don't give a fuck how good your senses are. Ain't no blind bitch that accurate. What the fuck?
Yeah, so
She's like
it's
Daredevil.
they
Yeah.
yeah, she's like Daredevil. Yeah, they explain it a little bit in the actual depth stream, but it's the fact that she basically just outlines everything with ether energy. So she sees the outline of everything in like an ether-esque wave. And then
Oh,
also in her normal vision,
okay.
she's technically not fully blind,
Yeah.
but that doesn't that does not help her snipe. She solely like goes off the ether fluctuations.
She goes
to
off the
snipe.
vibes.
Yeah, she goes
Okay.
off vibes.
Okay. Well, speaking of trigger, my next question is, this is not related to story, it's more like personal preference for you guys and me. How do you feel about them never once showing what she looks like without her mask? I wish we saw it one time, just once.
Just once. Yeah, I kind of agree. That would
Yeah.
be nice.
I also will agree. I
in
assumed.
the yeah,
You go.
in the little trailer of it, when like you see her team and stuff like that, she's already wearing the mask and stuff like that, which is obviously before the mission and stuff like that. So I'm curious, like, why was she wearing? I mean, maybe it's just sunglasses or whatever, but like she's always
was a
been hiding
different
her eyes.
visor.
Then, yeah,
Yeah, in fact, you can actually see in that one, like in the teaser, you can see a robotic eye kind of like move around
Ah.
inside. So I think it was literally just a like a defense force mask to help her be more accurate
Ah.
while sniping. And then this new one is different because now she can't see. The only thing that's there is just her gamer lights to show her emotions.
Yeah, I don't know. I just wish we would have got to see it one time.
No, I do
Yeah.
too. I thought when they first showed the like Polaroid picture of her, when she was like
Oh,
just had the
yeah.
blindfold, I thought originally in the dev stream when they showed that we were gonna find her in that state and she was gonna like show us what her eyes looked like just take the blindfold off. So yeah, I will say that is a little unfortunate. I do hope it may be in the future when we get the rest of the Obsidian division, to fill out the rest of the squad, then maybe there'll be a story where she gets her mask shot off or something. We get to see what her eyes actually look like. But yeah, that would be nice.
I got a question. Do y'all know what's it called? Goblin Slayer? The anime Goblin
Oh
Slayer?
yeah.
Do you remember? Because this is not just Goblin Slayer. This is have a good one. Sorry, family was leaving. But there's other animes, there's other shows like Goblin Slayer where like the main protagonist or someone who's poured into the story will like hide their face, and then eventually down the line they'll show their face, and it's always like a really cool moment. They'll take their mask off or they'll take their helmet off, and it's like it's always such a cool moment. Like, yeah, I wish we would have got that with Trigger.
Yeah, it would have been nice. I mean, they could still be setting it up as like
Yeah, in the future.
yeah, we'll see if they actually have a deeper past with the MCs, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I'm not holding out much hope now because I agree it would be nice to see it, but let's face it, we're playing Zenless Zone Zero here, guys. We're all waifu pullers. Let's just lay that on the table. And I guess the
Yeah, I
direction
pull
this
the
is going
husband
is that like if we were gonna get the big reveal of the actual like face, we would have got it like at the start of her banner when the hype is like at its
Yeah.
peak.
I think.
Go on, get it.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, you're good. Keep going.
No, that's it. That's it.
That was it.
Maybe
Oh,
I might have
okay.
had something else. I forgot.
Oh, my fault.
Oh, good.
My fault.
Was there anything like? Oh, sorry. You go on now.
No,
We're all
after you,
over the
after you,
place.
After you.
But I wish they would have at least let Bell or Wise because they could have did a moment like there was one anime I watched before, but they could have did a moment where they don't show you the player her face, but but Bell and Wise get to see it for like a split second, and
Yeah.
it's just like a moment between them. Like I wish they would at least
Like
did
we're
that.
behind, the camera's behind Trigger, and then like we see Bell and Wise's reaction to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the next like opportunity that they could do it is a team up between Section 6 and the Defense Force to take down Nineveh, because they could still have it be an emotional moment of if Nineveh was, I mean, they were fighting Nineveh when she lost her eyes.
Yeah.
So they could do a thing of Miyabi cuts open like a area for a small opening, and then Trigger has to shoot through it. But you know, beforehand they were in a battle, and her mask gets knocked off, and she has to make the final shot with, you know, with her mask off, and she gets to kill
Oh,
the thing that took her eyes.
And to be fair, reruns, like when she comes back on a rerun, that's when they might do a skin. Yeah, I could see this. I could see this. Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah, skins too. Yeah,
Yeah, and then we could get a skin without the mask. That would be cool.
that would be cool. But if we do, then we need to get a Pulchra without the mask too. That should have been a toggle. I'm not gonna lie.
Just got an M6.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can look at the picture.
Yeah,
You just
true.
gave me another question, actually, Azriel saying that. So the NEPs, Section 6, and the Defense Force, they're like all the same thing, but they do specific
No.
jobs on the side, right? But they all fight the Hollow.
It's
Think of them
police,
as-
military,
yeah.
and like
Yeah. That's
like
what I'm saying.
FBI, I guess.
Yeah, like FBI, regular police, and the military, but they all fight the Hollow, is what I'm saying.
And then like the SWAT. Yeah. The
Yeah.
new area police force more or less does like actual police work as opposed to going into hollows. But if they do need to go into hollows, then they are trained to. Yeah.
Got you.
So, was there anything else? Because we mentioned talking about Trigger's story quest, and then we kind of got distracted by the eye thing. Was there anything else that we feel like is important to bring up from Trigger's story quest? Because I'll be honest, like, yeah, I wasn't paying much attention. That's
I think there's
I
one
mean-
thing that I would want to mention that I think a lot of people probably overlooked is at the very end. Oh, hang on.
I think you're
Towards
gonna
the
bring up
start-
exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So towards the start, when you're looking for Trigger and you go to Port Alpus, you meet Zoe, the blue-haired girl, who, spoiler alert, turns out to be the quote-unquote bad guy, standing next to a little bin. And then at the very end of the story, you're standing next to that same bin, and if you interact with it, you find a diary of Zoe's, and it tells about the I think it's 3 days of when she was back in the military, about how she was also a very well decorated sniper, and then it was her birthday, and she was also loved very much by her team, like the commander, I think, or the chief proposed to her and everything, and how very loving she was, very similar to how Trigger had the very loving her team. I forget the name exactly, but yeah. At the end of the day, it's like showing the parallels between Trigger and Zoe. And then the one thing as well is that Zoe was supposed to be put in charge for training a bunch of these newbies. And it didn't go too well because she took them into the hollows, which was a bad thing to do. It's like, why would you take them into the hollow? Her response was obviously, well, they're going to be soldiers. They should be ready for it. And towards the end of day 2, she mentions the ideal training scenario that she would love to have with a new recruit, whatever, is to go into the hollow where she has a vantage point very high up, and then she can test the newbie's positioning, which is bar for bar what happens in the actual like showdown between Zoe and Trigger. Just a little Easter egg.
Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't let you, or they didn't like direct you towards it, but yeah, you do get like a very long paragraphs of her diary at the end. And then yeah, for those that are interested, to clarify on the squads there, yeah, Zoe's squad was the Nemesis squad, and the character that was giving her like the surprise birthday thing was Peregrine, which shows that their naming convention was, instead of being the rivers in the underworld like Lyre squads with Charon and whatnot, it's birds, like birds of like predator birds.
Yeah.
So peregrines,
And, like,
grim vultures, like
High ground versus low ground, yeah.
yeah.
okay. Well, that's pretty cool, I guess. Yeah.
The other thing of note is they make it very they go, if this is a hypothetical, only if it's a hypothetical, of course. But if we were to run into people who had a similar backstory to us, but went down a separate route, which, by the way, the Trigger Agent mission very, very much so mirrored Anby's, where it's the similar theme of two characters that had a very, that had this similar or same experience, but went down two completely different paths with how they actually, went forward with that experience. And then one of the siblings asks if we run into someone who had the same or similar experience to us, and they went down the other path and became like bad. What would we do? Like,
Yeah.
would we see them as try to see them as equals and understand where they're coming from, or beat them? And it's very interesting because I have always assumed this was going to happen, but the other two people that are scratched off in the picture in the office with us at the Helios Research Institute, I'm going to assume that those people are alive and we will run into them, and they
Yeah.
probably went down a different path. So I think
Oh.
it's them setting up the fact that we're probably gonna at some point face off against other Helios Research Institute like people, specifically other what did Bringer call us? Children of the or sinners?
Children,
Child
like,
of
yeah,
sinners?
sinners. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, something
Mhm.
like that.
Maybe like other, I assume other students of Carol Arna as well, who maybe also received the same implants and stuff like that. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because I'm assuming they
Yeah.
did the ones in the
Yeah.
picture. But it'll be really interesting. More specifically, I think it would be so cool if they had another one of the AIs also, and so it was
Ooh,
literally just
yeah.
like a Kidda and L face off with the AIs.
It could be cool. Okay, was there anything else you wanted to talk about around the trigger stuff before we probably bounce back over to like the 1.6 main story and talk about, what happened to Hugo, what did Vivian see, all of that kind of stuff, like the conjecture, the speculation for story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to mention about trigger before we do that?
Goated. That's about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, trigger's
Go.
cool. Yeah, trigger's cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so should we bounce back over then? So yeah, we mentioned about Hugo getting stabbed by Lycan
Through the heart, very specific.
through the heart, very specific.
Surely he dies from that.
And then
surely.
like thrown from a building. So what do we think is going to happen to Hugo? I mean, he's coming back in 1.7. He can't be dead, right? Like,
Yeah.
He's not dead.
no. But the question mark is like, well,
yeah.
does that mean that Lycan was in on it because he kind of did it and threw him over the edge?
Yeah. So there's
there
a
was a
couple different
period-
paths that they could go.
yeah.
But yeah, I want to hear your idea first, Shana.
So, I mean, I'm not sure. So my assumption is that in the story leading up to that, we all split off. Like Faithin goes with Vivian. I think Anby goes by herself, and then Lycan and Hugo, they go like, it's like the classic. Oh, they hate each other. Now they have to work together. I'm assuming
yeah.
that when those two go off together, they scheme something and they plan something. And so I'm assuming Lycan is in on it. And so like maybe he knew like the exact way to hit him and to throw him off this specific spot. And I'm gonna assume that when Hugo comes back, it's gonna be like in the last moment. Because how do I word this? They're making him out to be like a quote unquote villain, and for the most part, I feel like a lot of the characters we're getting are very not villainy, and so they need to make a way to redeem him. So it's gonna be a type of thing where we're at our most dire spot. Maybe potentially we're gonna speak to it a bit soon, but just before whatever Vivian sees happens, where like our life is in great danger, we're about to die, that's when Hugo's going to come in and save us and be like, you thought I was dead. I was alive all along, waiting for this moment now to like redeem myself. That's my assumption, yeah.
He did mention something about
Yeah.
becoming like a bigger dragon to kill a dragon or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was their like teacher in the past, I think.
Oh,
That,
maybe
like,
I misremembered.
Well,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
it was both actually, because he did mention that in the final fight. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a couple different routes that they could go with how he lives. One is yes, this entire time he was testing Lycon because it can be very, if you actually look into it, it can be very clearly seen that he probably has not actually killed anyone before, Hugo.
Oh, okay.
Because he
Wait, Hugo?
definitely did not. Yeah, Hugo. Yeah.
The poison,
and I'll
what about poison
explain.
stuff?
I'll explain here in a second.
yeah.
Wait,
Oh.
you mean the poison in terms of like the sister?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not him. So the reason why
See,
he did
I had
not kill
question
his
marks
sister-
around that. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Justified.
So the entire time that he had spoke about his sister every single time, it was in sadness and the fact that he did not want her to die, or sorry, did not want her to die. And they show us that flashback for a reason, because he is very clearly distraught at what happened, and the way that his dad is speaking about like
Like how
the
he's
way
proud,
he
yeah.
gets excited, yeah, and proud that he owned up to killing the sister, I think it mirrors exactly what happened when Lycon saw Hugo surrounded by those dead bodies. And he did not actually kill his sister. He lied and took the blame. He did not actually kill those people in that house. He just lied and took the blame. Because
Okay.
in the art of that house, there is no blood on Hugo at all. There is blood all over the surrounding areas, but there is no blood on Hugo. And the entire thing of him saying, "You broke the oath, not me," I think is just him trying to, and Ashikai brought this up on the Proxy podcast like before, but it seems like this entire time Hugo probably overheard the conversation that they had with their like grandpa dude, where he basically told Lycon, like, at some point you're going to have to reel him in. And so he kind of used that as a situation to test Lycon to see what he would do. And when he saw that Lycon basically, instead of pulling back on the rope like he was told to, he let go of the rope. He just completely
he,
left
like,
Hugo.
left.
Yeah, and went on his own. And Hugo sees that as being a traitor. I mean, he left. He didn't have any trust in Hugo, that he wouldn't have been the person to kill those people. Because Lycon and Hugo were not the only ones on that mission. Lycon mentions about that mission, he said Hugo used them and me, like meaning that there were other people on the mission that like did stuff with them. So I think it was they killed those people and then moved on, and then he just got caught in that situation and then used it as an excuse to test Lycon to see what he would do. So that's another like mirroring thing. And then also he clearly did not have any intent to actually kill us, which I think we can all agree on. Because literally right before that, he tells us to take care of Vivian. So
and he like apologizes as well and stuff like that.
Yeah. So why would he do that if he was actually planning on killing us? So yeah, that was a long-winded way of just me saying that can be the connection to he got Lycon like in on it, and now they're doing their little like thing. So that's one. Two is during that situation, which was brought up earlier, where we are walking around as Hugo, and he mentions having the museum, and like, you know, he has like his own little thing that he's building up. They have highlighted in yellow that he basically, when he's like selling all these items or whatever, that the people that he has in on this project are excited to collaborate with him, meaning he has people doing shit behind the scenes that we don't see. So what I think that links into is probably the internet posts after he fell saying that they, quote, saw a video of him dying, to basically like lock in the fact that, oh my God, Hugo of the Mockingbirds is dead. That way people don't assume that he's alive. And so what he could have had was like a plan to fall into that hollow and then have people basically retrieve him out of that hollow and like get him to a hospital and let him heal. That's another way. I think that one is boring. The way that I would love to see it, the way that I would love to see them do it, which I don't think they will, but I would absolutely love for this to be the case. I thought there was a specific reason as to why they had the audio file play from Bringer during that situation where he got healed. They mentioned very specifically that he had fatal wounds and then was healed and met the creator. During the at the rooftop, they explicitly have Vivian bring up the promise that Hugo would look into the Exaltists for her. And keep in mind, everyone that while yes, you know, Hartman ended up being his uncle, right? And there's the whole family tie there. It is still the fact that he is in with like Hartman is with the Exaltists, so you could still see that this was a reason for him to look into it. Besides being able to do his own grudges, also be able to look into the promise for Vivian. I think he somehow overheard the audio or knows how it happened, and basically baited Lycon into giving him a fatal wound and throwing him into the hollow so that he can meet the creator, and the creator will heal him, and he will basically infiltrate the Exaltists to get inside information for Vivian.
Yeah, the exact same thoughts as I did.
Yeah.
That
And
also
I think that would
sounds
be
so sick. I'm not gonna. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
It also gives a reason as to why they had that little like that very specific little side quest thing where you go to Neps and hear that little explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems to be important. And again, the fact that Vivian brought up the promise to look into the Exaltists, and also after the fact, when she's in the video store, she says she's gonna look into the Exaltists more. Which you would think, well,
Maybe
she should
look for
into
Hugo,
if
yeah.
Hugo's alive, right? But yeah, I think that's basically where that's going to lead, is that he is essentially doing all of this to try to get info on the Exaltist for Vivian.
Okay, so I have like a couple of follow-up questions. So number one, if it's like a fatal wound, then how is Hugo like confident that he'd be okay, if that makes sense, to like infiltrate the Exaltists? And if there's some kind of like brain, what's the word? What am I trying to say here? Like it seemed like it kind of like flicked a switch, like as in someone like turned him, like, and he was almost no longer himself when like so. I guess what Hugo's opening himself up for is the potential for that to happen to him. How is he confident that he'll get healed and he won't be overcome with this power or desire to like give in to the creator? Do you know?
So that's a great question, and I bring the question up like anytime I would talk about this theory, I bring that up. Ideally, we'll find out in 1.7. We don't know.
Okay.
However, in the personality that he has, he seems like he would be the person to balls to the wall gamble that shit.
Yeah, to be like,
And
I'm
just,
different.
and just hope that it works. Yeah, I'm built different. I will be
Like,
fine.
This is the point where I typed it out like early on because I'm like, I know we're gonna bring this up. Like, if you play in Japanese, the voice actor for Hugo is Fukuyama Jun. This guy has been typecast to play Hugo. There are like several. Obviously, the one thing is, Fukuyama Jun plays Joker, Persona. Oh, it's a Phantom Thief. Blah, blah, blah. He also plays Lelouch, Code Geass, Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom. Spoiler alerts for both of these, by the way. Fukuyama Jun's characters have been made to fake their death and then come back in a spectacular, like, aha, it was my plan all along. Like, this
spoilers for
is what Hugo
Kogias
seems
and,
like.
Yeah.
Like they talk about how Hugo loves his dramatics. So like it absolutely fits his character for this to be the case. But yes, that is the question. How would he not succumb to the essentially brainwashing that Bringer did? And you could just say, Bringer could have just been weak ass mental.
Weaker, yeah.
Yeah, bro did not have the mental for it. But that Hugo does, because he's just crazy in the head. But it'll be really interesting to see.
Could it have something to do with the fact that Hugo is like maybe a vampire?
Bro. Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. We don't know if he's actually a vampire or not, right? Like, odds are he's just a bat Thyran and not like a real vampire, but obviously they tease at it all the time.
Yeah.
We do have Onis, so I guess it's not completely opposed to the idea that we could have actual vampires either. But it's interesting to see how it will tie in, because the wine scene, they made it they made it seem like they were drinking blood. But as Ashikai brought up, it's also really interesting that he specifically says that he's hypoglycemic, but then drinks the wine anyway. Which means, like, if he was hypoglycemic, then he shouldn't have drinking the wine. But he drank the wine like nothing, and nothing happened. So there's something. I don't really know what is happening there, but there's something with like him talking about the fact that he's hypoglycemic, and whatever he has planned.
It's because he's a vampire.
Because he's a vampire. Yeah,
I was actually going to say, coming back to the Hugo thing, where I thought that, like, the whole he poisoned his sister thing. The reason why I thought that as well was, obviously as I was playing it, like blow by blow, I didn't have the hindsight at the time, was when he has that flashback, it's when he's having that drink of wine with Hartman. And so my thought was, he's talked about how much he hates his father, but he loves his sister. So I thought that initially he poisoned the wine for his father, and then there was some like switch up, and then like, you know, his sister ended up drinking it. That's why he was so distraught by it. And then when like after him and Hartman drink the wine, which again at the time I thought it's just wine, and with that flashback right after or right before that, I was like, oh shit, he's gonna poison Hartman. But then yeah, that obviously didn't happen.
So I meant to say this earlier, but I completely forgot. Hartman is the one who probably poisoned his sister.
Yeah.
And that's why he had the flashback while drinking the wine with Hartman.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when he first starts yelling at Hartman, he mentions like, you just like, I don't remember what the actual interaction was, but basically he was like, oh my God, like you're alive. And it's because Hartman killed basically everyone in the family and thought thought that Hugo was also dead, but he wasn't.
Yeah,
and then Hugo was
when
like,
he gives the name drop,
true. Yeah. When he was like a Ravenlock. And he's like, you thought you finished off the rest of the family or whatever. So odds are, yeah, it was probably Hartman who killed the sister.
So how does that Ravenlock thing play into it, do we think then?
Well, Ravenlock
is that he's just like tied to tops,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly apologize one more time. I know I feel so fucking useless in this conversation. I'm just taking everything in, man. Like I'm so intrigued by this conversation that like I'm not talking at all. I am so sorry.
Well,
You're good.
I'm just trying.
Again, if you have any questions, ask them.
I feel like you and I are probably in the same boat, Kete, but I'm just trying to make sure I'm asking the questions to make sure that it's clear, hopefully, for the people who are listening at home. But okay, cool. Is there anything else we want to talk about with the Hugo Lycan thing? So we're pretty positive he's not dead. We kind of think that he's baiting the creator in some way because he's him, and that's pretty much where we are.
Yeah. So
I will say one last thing about this is,
yeah, you go.
You can go first, Azriel.
Okay. Yeah. So one other like piece of evidence that I kind of used for him like baiting the creator, which could technically be used against this idea, but at the beginning of the story, he talks like he baits the title of a movie to make it seem like he knows something about the siblings, but then it basically turns out to be that it's about him. Although I do still think that he was baiting like the movie, the title about to show the siblings that they know like who they are. Towards the end, he gives another movie title, and it was like, instead of being
Children of Devils versus Children of Gods.
Yeah, Children of Devils, Children of Gods, which
again
could still be about the siblings. In fact, I think it odds are was about the siblings, but since the first story still somewhat related to Hugo, this one can still somewhat relate to Hugo as well, because if that is his plan, literally the only thing they have ever directly referred to as a god was the creator, and that was during the NEPS like interaction when we were listening to Bringer's thing. I think it was Haramasa was like, oh my God, he's like a god. So the only thing they've mentioned in game related to God is the creator. So if he's saying he's not a children of the devil, he's a children of the god, and then goes and does this, you know, technically he would, if he becomes an Exaltist, quote unquote, infiltrates them, then he would technically be like a child of the god. But I do still think that was probably more towards the siblings than him, but it's just an interesting note that it could still somewhat work.
I mean,
yeah, I guess
I'll hop onto that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You go, Shanaha. I have a question.
Okay. But yeah, so like my initial thought of that as well was Children of Devil was, I thought, again addressing us or Phaethon, because the big assumption is that we are, you know, quote unquote, the children of Carol Anna, and Carol Anna has been sort of taken the pin for causing Hollow Zero, so she's like kind of being seen as the devil. But then, you know, towards the end, maybe Carol Anna was the good guy and she's trying to fight back against the creator, because again, it was like the false blame referring to a god. But to be fair, coming back to the potential of it, maybe I also think that it's more referring to us than it is the dev or like Hugo himself, especially with the whole us unlocking powers and stuff. But I think he does mention that the story is about somebody taking revenge on their father, I think, which obviously is more Hugo so than us. And then the one other thing I did want to mention beforehand was not really story related, but I'm just sad that they made it so obvious. Like this is, I think when you guys were asking about how I thought about the story, and I said my main tidbit with this is how cliche it is. I'm just mad that they made it so obvious that Hugo is alive. Like, how cool would it have been if they didn't do drip marketing for Hugo? We didn't know that he was a playable character next patch. They didn't like throw 5,000 highlighted
know.
messages about how he's surely dead, right? And then like he actually really out of nowhere, out of left pocket, showed up in 1.7. It's like, oh shit, he's actually here.
Yeah.
By the way, his banner's live right now. Oh my god.
See, I love that idea, but marketing wise, they will never
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I do think that would be so sick. And technically, this doesn't have like a gotcha relation, but for those that have played Persona, in previous Persona
Extensively.
games that are not Persona 5, like in Persona, Persona 3, I think in the original Persona 4, the like villains you would have a social link, or the villain you would not
yes.
have a social link with, so you would like know, okay, they're probably it. But in like the remakes, like in Persona 4 Golden and in
Golden,
Persona
yeah.
5,
Yeah,
you do have a social link with like the villain, so you wouldn't think that it's them. Like the twist is there. And so it's just unfortunate that we probably will never see a situation like like that where we get the big twist just because they need the money of the banner.
Yeah.
It was very similar to when they drip marketed, this is more Star Rail, but when they drip marketed in Bibiter Lune, like Don Hung, and that just came
Oh,
out of
yeah.
left field, and we're like, holy shit. Like, I really wish we could have seen that in the story first and
Mm.
then actually seen like the banner happening.
Okay, so hear me out though. Like, I know the thing is that they're following a pattern, but like, I don't know. Like, let me just lay out this marketing strategy for you though. Like, let's say like we didn't drip market Hugo. Like, all of the people who were to make the videos about the upcoming balance would be like, I guess we're getting like 3 reruns and then like 1 new character because we only got 1 character, right? So I would say that, Kete would say that, Shanaha would say that. I guess that's what's happening, right? You know, and then the like 1.7 story launches, and then Hugo comes back, and then like a week later we get the drip marketing for Hugo for the second half. Like, oh my god! Not only would it go insane, it would also kind of like, and this is like the bad like corpo side of it, I guess. It would kind of put people in a position of safety where they're like, oh, well, I don't need to worry that much because it's going to be like triple reruns next patch. And then Hugo comes back, and then they're like, oh, I blew all of my polychrome on trigger because I didn't think Hugo was
yeah.
coming.
See, and that's the thing, is because they kind of had a similar situation with Miyabi, right? Like, didn't the patch literally dropped when they did the Ellen rerun, and they still had not drip marketed her. Like, it took
Yeah, they did
3
hold,
days into
yeah.
the patch for them to actually
Yeah.
drip market Miyabi, and it seemed scummy because it seemed like they were trying to bait people into thinking that she wasn't dropping to pull on Ellen. And then once they already pulled on Ellen, then it's like, oh shit, well now I
Yeah.
want Miyabi.
Yep.
So yeah.
At the end of the day, they are a company. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I could see it happening in the future, but right now, yeah, it's painfully obvious that Hugo's coming back.
Yeah, 100%. 1.
Oh, there was something I wanted to ask. I don't remember what it was. It was such a good conversation that I forgot
the
about it.
sacrifices.
Nah,
My
maybe.
question,
I don't
Hugo,
remember. Go on, Kete.
where the fuck is the rest of Mockingbird?
True.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of Stars of Lyra? That's also a good question.
That's my question. Where's the rest of Stars of Lyra? Yeah.
That's the thing. There is potential that they might, because they realize that it's kind of cool to keep adding people to factions, that they might start doing smaller factions just to add them and avoid a Sons of Caldon situation where they have fucking like 8 characters in one faction.
Hey, don't you
And they're all great.
I love the Sons of Caldon. Okay,
Chill the fuck out. Chill the
there's
fuck
a
out.
reason why they have the most agents because they're great. But yeah, I think it might be just like an idea. Not for every single faction, because obviously I think most factions are going to have 4+, but just so that they have a little bit more leeway into kind of surprising us with characters that could be added in the future.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think the Sons of Caledon need one more agent and Big Daddy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Bellum
What's
and
that?
Big
You want
Daddy.
Bellum? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bellum.
I still think we actually talked about this recently with the stream. I think it would be nice if, since Lucius kind of like ran away, that Bellum became the leader of the Vanquishers, and then they could just have like the Vanquishers be a new faction and have Bellum be like in there, and then just have more people from the outer ring just in the Vanquisher squad instead of all joining the Sons of Caledon.
if they made Bellingham S rank, he would have the lowest selling banner in Gacha history.
It might actually
Yeah.
be. Yeah, where's the hot waifus, guys? I don't know about this. um, okay, I don't know. Do we want to are we kind of done with the Hugo chat? Do we want to move on to like what potentially Vivian might have seen? I know we talked about it earlier when Shanaha ran through the story for the story spoiler stuff, but okay,
Yeah.
sounds like let's move on
Yeah,
to it.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
we-
So yeah, right at the
yeah, we
end,
can talk
just as a
about it.
reminder, Vivian saw an image of seemed like Phaethon with wings falling from the sky or falling from something. And she cries, which is what she does when she has a vision. And remember, she only sees like bad things. So what do we think's going on there?
Yeah, so I think it is very I do not think it was literal. I will say that much. I don't think that what she saw is a literal depiction of us like having wings and falling out of the sky. I do
Yeah,
think it is
makes
absolutely
sense.
metaphorical. Because it does fit with the story of Phaethon and myth. And it directly ties actually with how the fact that we are going into hollows now. The HDD has always been a comparison to the chariot and the myth of Phaethon. And I guess just real quick, for those that don't know what the myth of Phaethon is, Phaethon is basically like the son of Helios, and they wanted to ride the chariot, which drew like it basically pulled the sun, and they were bad drivers. Okay, we'll just say that they flew the sun too far away and it froze the earth. They flew it too close and it burned the earth. And it got to the point where Zeus, there's different depictions, but the ones that I read often is Zeus struck them down and they fell from the chariot, falling to their death. And the HDD has always been like the parallel to the chariot. And in this case, since we are now directly going into the hollow, it seems like we've flown the sun a little too close,
Right.
and now we're
That
going to
makes
face the
sense.
consequences of it.
And then
In
just
fact,
to interject as
the
well. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Just for the Greek mythology as well, like further on that, there's more to the story as well. Like after Phaethon is struck by a thunderbolt, and like you said earlier, like how you thought it was not a literal sense of the vision, but a tie to the story is because when Phaethon is falling from the sky, dying, his sisters, the Heliades, they see this vision of Phaethon falling from the sky, and they also cry tears of amber. And fun fact,
yes,
Phaethon falls into a river in Greek mythology. That river is called the Eridanus, which sounds very similar to Eridu.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which is super cool, super awesome. Oh my god,
Wait, I
myth
got a
connections.
question about Vivian. Is okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be thinking of I might have the definition wrong, but does that mean she's a visionary?
We don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't really know what she is, but like everyone, I mean, she's been referred to as a fortune teller, right? Which I don't really know. To be, I don't know the definition of visionary.
Okay,
But
so I just
I
looked
mean,
up the
she does.
definition. Okay,
What is it?
so definition of visionary is someone with a clear vision of the future and the ability to inspire and guide others towards that vision.
Yeah, well, that's like a.
I don't know if you want to inspire and guide people to their
twist of
death.
fate. Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
the
like a
cruel twist
CEO
of fate.
of a
I guess.
corporate company.
I mean, because in her backstory, right, they were saying that if she had the vision, then she was basically causing it to happen. So it kind of leading them into it. So in a fucked up way, yeah, you could say that she's a visionary. But I would go more with a fortune teller type of thing. And then also, before we get too far away from what she actually saw, I'll actually send this picture here in case you guys haven't seen it. But this is an actual artwork of the Fall of Phaethon, which is very, very reminiscent of, if you want to put this on screen when we're talking about this, but
I'll try
what
and
she
remember.
saw. Here's just a side by side. It's quite literally the same pose. So it is, and you can see him falling into the river by the way there.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Which is super sick, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't really know what to call or how her powers work. The only explanation I have as to why she has this ability is that we know that ether messes around with time, like time and space, and so it could just be that she is somehow able to read the data of ether, which could hold data of the future, in which case she sees basically visions or prophecies of the future. Is because she's essentially reading the data of the ether. That's like really the only explanation I have to fit the world building that we have so far.
Like,
but
I'm
I
sure
mean, if
they'll
they have another way.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll explain it. Either they'll explain it or they won't. Which honestly,
They probably won't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to leave it in mystery. Nah, it's ether shenanigans. Don't worry, trust me.
Yeah, because there are already people that are a little confused with how Astra does her stuff, but hers makes more sense than what Vivian is doing.
Cool. So just to go back to the Greek mythology thing. So obviously we got the faith on falling. Do we think that that means that we're like something's going to happen in the HDD in 1.7, or is this like a future thing that's going to be, you know, is it setting something up that's like way ahead?
I mean, like, I made the video about it a while ago, but like, on one hand, I understand like by like I'm sad that we don't have Eos because he's really cool, but I understand that by us going into the Hollow, we are in danger. Like we almost died twice in the story. Once by like jumping between Lycan and Hugo, and then twice again by Hugo threatening us. Like they're definitely doing this, like as you're saying, you know, flying too close to the sun. Like now that we're going into the Hollows, we are in actual danger. Whereas we could be sitting back at home comfy through EOS, but no, we're deciding to, you know, get a bit overzealous with our powers and going into the Hollows.
Yeah. So I think they are basically using this as a way to make the siblings realize, holy shit, we need to not do that. We need to still play it safe, because if we die before we figure out and clear the name of Carol, then we died for nothing. And then they'll start using EOS again. That, or they will literally have the MCs go on a training arc and being able to like defend themselves in Hollows, which would be cool, I guess. But I kind of like them being weak. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I like the fact that the MCs are knowledgeable and the people in the chair, as opposed to like they are. The scenario that they were stuck in was the definition of a proxy, just like better, because actual proxies do have to go into the Hollow with their clients because they can't communicate otherwise.
Wait, but are they actually weak though? They tanked a nuke.
Yeah, so that probably okay, so this is up for debate, but that probably was not a literal explosion. Yeah, that's the end of 1.4.
Like an ether explosion.
It was
like
yeah, basically an ether wave, which I talked about this
like
with
EMP.
Ashikai. This is this is going to be Shana, you seem like you know how to describe things in a much more beginner friendly way. So once I say this, you can recap it.
Yeah. I'll translate it.
They have not mentioned it in the actual story, but in Bringer's enemy dossier, they bring up the fact that Bringer is actually using a modified version of Ether. That red version of Ether that you see him like basically domain expansion is not the normal Ether we see. So we talked about this on the Proxy podcast a little bit, but I think what basically happened is that the implants that Carol gave us, she very clearly was trying to fight whatever the Exaltists start doing. And I think that she found a way to basically reduce our ether aptitude for one version of ether, but raise it for the other. So while we had a low ether aptitude for normal ether, the modified version of ether that the Exaltists are using, we're basically completely null against. And so that's why during the explosion, which would be the red ether that Bringer uses, our eyes flicker because our eyes are protecting us from that type of ether energy.
Shanaha?
Okay, so basically, I don't want to like hop on too much because I know this actually ties into another theory that I had, but essentially, like Carol has seen all of, like Carol knew what was coming. Carol knew the threats of the creator and like the ether hollows and all that stuff, and so she was preparing us. So those implants in our eyes are saving us to fight against the creator specifically, and like the creator's ether or the creator's powers and stuff like that. But in doing so, it kind of made us weaker in a sense. That's why we had to go through the bang boos and all that stuff. But now, in this patch, we're kind of getting our powers back a bit. So that's why we're starting to go into the hollows. But at the end of the day, our eye implants are the source of our power. Literally, I think the mayor says, you know, that we have some power in us that could change the whole of New Eridu. And I think, or as Azriel says, that power is probably the ability to withstand bringers, or not bringer, but like the creator's power, which is that specific little EMP blast that he had as the explosion.
Mhm.
So we can survive that. We can survive that specifically because it's an attack from the creator, and we are literally being raised and modified to be able to tank those specific types of attacks.
So we're OP against the creator.
Essentially.
Specifically the creator, yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, hopefully. Unless
Okay.
Vivian's vision comes true, yeah. Maybe that's the thing. But like, again, I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't want to hop onto this, but I think that's what it is, where we are told that we have the power to, go up against the creator. And then we think, okay, cool, let's go into the hollow, let's take him on. And then we realize we are not him. And then the creator claps back, creator has hands. And then we're like, oh shit.
Literally has hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the big question for me here is like, do we think that the MCs become playable in the hollows in a combat sense?
No.
Nah.
I think if they do ever make them in that sort of way, it will literally be like passive buffs. Like
Yep.
you won't actually be able to play them, but
The
they will be
Honkai
like,
Star Rail global passives.
yeah, exactly. Like that.
But
you
story
can choose
related, yeah.
different buffs
But story related
with,
and
like,
tied to the main
for
character,
the
so
team.
actually it's fine.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
And not
yeah,
like
exactly.
gacha characters.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that power like technically is. But I don't think they will ever actually be like literally throwing hands with ethereals in the hollow. No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I
Especially,
think they might actually in the betas, in specifically the first beta, which I wish they did not get rid of the system, but EOS actually had a mod system. So when you went to Turbo, there was like, did you guys pre-register for the game?
Yes.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
On the pre-register thing, there was like a little event where there was like a 3x3 tile. And as every day you could like roll for stuff and it would give you different shapes of like things that you could bring in game. And you could fill out the 3x3 tile with like basically Tetris blocks. And then
Uh-huh.
whatever you like locked in, then you would get those in game when the game launched. In beta 1, when you went to Turbo, there was that 3x3 mod system for EOS. You could directly implant mods into EOS, and that would give you what I just explained the MCs would basically do for your team. It was passive buffs. Like, depending on which, there's different rarities of mods, and the higher the rarity, the more like space it would take in that mod system. But it would be like increase attack by like 20, and it would increase like everyone's attack, like everyone in the team. It was just a passive team buff. And then they took that out of the game.
Oh. Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
wonder if
so-
they're working on it. They're cooking it up and then we get it back
Yeah.
as
To like bring it back in.
yeah,
Yeah.
like and they give like a story reasoning for it with the main characters becoming more involved in some way. I don't know. That seems cool. Yeah,
That'd be
I'm
sick.
okay with that. Okay. Cool. Is there anything else we wanted to chat about? Or like any other thoughts on the future or what's coming?
I'll bring up
Um,
one last thing about the Greek story, and again, like what Kete was asking about how we're built for the creator, but like coming back to the Greek mythology story, and how Phaethon is the son of Helios. The reason why we go out and try to ride the chariot is in Greek mythology, Phaethon tries to confirm their parentage to Helios to see like, are you really my dad and stuff like that, which is kind of like what the siblings do, where they try to confirm, is Carol Honor, okay? Is she alive? Are they trying
Right.
to clear her name,
Yeah.
stuff like that, find the
Yeah.
truth and stuff like that? And again, like Zeus is the one that strikes Phaethon down because Phaethon is a threat to the Earth because they're messing around with the sun, much like how we are probably a threat to Zeus. Oh, much like how Bell and Weiss are. I keep on having to switch the names. Bell and Weiss are a threat to the Creator, who in this scenario could be the Zeus, because we are now like a threat to the Hollows because we have this power to go up against them. So that's also like a reason as to why we are like built as the countermeasure to the Creator, and why we're like a threat,
Huh.
and why we're probably gonna get struck down.
Huh. Yeah, I could see that. So in
Okay,
that
so
scenario, though,
any other
we're
questions?
we're considering Zeus as the creator. Do we think there could be any potential that the creator is actually like not a bad guy?
The classic trope of they're the bad guy, but they have a good reasoning.
Yeah, I don't think we will see anything like that, or at least if we do, it'll be like he was a good guy at first, but then the ether corrupted him, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then now he's like going crazy mode.
Just remember, villains aren't born; they're created.
Exactly.
True.
So deep.
So we're hollows, dude. They weren't born; they were created by man.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like that's most of the stuff that I wanted to go through. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk about, or anything you want to ask questions about?
I got some random shit we could talk about.
Okay, random
while
shit. Let's
Azriel's-
go.
While Azriel's here, so get some answers. Chingy, is she a bang boo in just human form?
Yeah, you can definitely think of Chingy as like a human-sized advanced Bangbu. Yes.
Okay, who
I will
wins?
say she was created before Bangbu. I can tell you that.
Okay, I got you.
Like,
So-
has she passed the Apple test, or
I would have to assume so. Yes, because
I think it was her and Billy. I think those are the only two, right?
Well, probably Elfie has as well. Like, but
Oh, yeah,
in terms of playable characters, yes. But
Apple test,
yeah,
by the way, is just like the
so-
Turing test. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for AIs. In fact, they actually mentioned
Right.
it with oh, where did they mention it recently? Shit. They're like, I don't want them to take the forbidden fruit test.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Shit.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
that's.
yeah.
I don't know why I don't remember where that happened. But yeah, anyway, whatever. That's besides the point. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Ching Yi. She same with Billy. They refer to them as like tech of the old civilization. I do want to clarify, the old civilization is not the old capital. The old civilization is before Eridu was founded. So they were like old.
Oh,
Like they're tech from a long time ago.
So like Chingy's like 1,000 years old or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like the technology, but like her parts can get replaced.
Yeah,
I
in
feel
fact,
like
you
like
see that happened.
Yeah, it has. She's been cut up.
I feel like you're like so weirdly specific about what you want to know about Chingy.
But yes, you can, because she directly interacts with Bangbu. She can take over, like she can transfer consciousnesses, kind of like how we do with the HDD, which is interesting. But yeah, you can think of her as a big Bangbu because she needs to charge also.
So what you're saying is we need a Chingy Bangbu. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we need a smaller Chingy plushie is what we need.
Okay, with the creator stuff, do y'all think that they're gonna pull a whole like Marvel's Endgame shit, like at the end of the story where like all the Voidhunters come together to take down the creator?
Absolutely.
I mean, they kind of did that with Bringer, right?
They did kind of
Yeah.
do that with Bringer. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Except for
again.
Soldier 11.
I would love to see a Void Ranger team. I'd love to see any of the other Void Hunters.
Yeah.
Like at
the-
all.
Because there was that
I don't know if
lore
y'all-
trailer towards the start of the game that I think you already mentioned, as
Yeah.
and
with the 7 of them, yeah.
yeah, there was 7 of them. Okay, big lore question then: are they all dead?
Yes. A lot of the community
Well-
will like to say no, like they'll like to have copium. So here's the thing. Odds are, yes. The only people that could technically be alive, if we're okay, let me just clarify for people that are probably furious at what I'm saying right now. We're excluding time shenanigans right now. Excluding time shenanigans, the only people that could probably be alive is Professor Arke and the big robo guy. That helped. That was that was one of the 3 that helped push back the dark wall.
Yeah.
Because he's
Yeah,
a robot.
because
like
he's a
like Billy.
robot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he could still be alive. But like now we can include the shenanigans I was talking about. Hollows, as I've said before in this podcast, they distort space-time. If we could technically say that they got lost in the hollow and somehow are being warped in time and could pop out and we could see them and have them as playable characters or whatever in the current time. Or we could get transported back in time and experience like old Eridu, which I think would be super sick if that was the case. But like I technically, yes, they are dead without time shenanigans. I will say time shenanigans they've hinted at a lot. So
Yeah.
that
Also,
could come into play.
They've done it before in other games as well. Like in Star Rail,
yes.
there's a very tiny little side quest early on in the game where you have somebody messaging somebody else who is like experiencing the exact same thing, where they're going through time at a much faster rate than we are.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it could happen. I hope they don't.
Why? We talked about the big robot guy. You know, without time shenanigans, he could still be around. But why could Professor Archie still be around then?
Because he was clearly not human.
Oh yeah, his
he did
head
not have a
was-
head.
Yeah, he
He
didn't
went
have a head. I
into-
remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like ether, smoke, mutate. I don't know. I think that is whatever Professor Arche is, if that was ether related, is like probably the prime specimen that the Exaltists see as the evolution of humanity.
He's like the ethereal or something like that. That like
Could
has
he
a
be the
conscious and stuff like
creator?
that or something?
It's a good question because I mean he went into Hollow Zero, and again with
Yeah.
time shenanigans, there could be a path that when he went into Hollow Zero, he got transported way back to the beginning and basically became like a powerful ethereal that has now transcended time essentially, and he is the creator, which that would be interesting for sure. So I mean the idea is possible, but we'll just have to see how they actually go about it.
And I guess with the only Void Hunter that we've seen, well, I mean, we've seen the other ones as well, I guess, but the only Void Hunter that we have in game so far is Miyabi, who is related to the first Void Hunter that we saw in that lore trailer, the Swordmaster. Do we think that the further Void Hunters that we'll see in game will be related to the other ones, and it will be like a 1-by-1 kind of situation? So I think there's that.
I would love for them all to be the descendants
Yeah,
of said
yeah,
Void
yeah.
Hunter. However, I don't think that will be the case. In fact, while I think that would still be really cool, I do like the idea that it's not a title passed down through blood; it's a title earned. Which that's technically how Miyabi got it. It wasn't passed down to her. She did do a feat big enough to earn the title of Void Hunter, which was defeating Lerna, and the Hollow, which is what gave her the title, which is super sick. So I think it would be really cool to just learn about the other Void Hunters, not have them be direct descendants, but successors. They just encompass the ideal, the idea of each like path of Void Hunter, and they did their own feat to earn the title.
So I guess for like the one that created the Bangboos, she ran the Marcel group.
Sunbringer.
Yeah, is that right? Sunbringer.
The Marcel group.
Yeah, so it could be like the person who has taken over the Marcel group and then also done some cool shit. Maybe they made something.
Like the current CEO or something.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily
Funnily
have to be
enough.
related to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Funnily
Yeah,
enough,
either way it's
speaking of
fine though for me.
Sunbringer,
Yeah. Go on.
I'm
Sam.
about to throw a wrench in the works now. Like, I know you just made the understanding of, okay, yeah, CEO pass is done. I've heard some theories that Yishuan, the teased master of the Jufufu in like the Yunkui Summit group, I've heard speculation and like fan theories that Yishuan is like a descendant of Sunbringer and will also somehow be a Void Hunter, because again, Zenless Zone Zero love their mythology and stuff like that. In Chinese mythology, there was like an archer by the name of like something similar, like Xuan or something, who in Chinese mythology, there were like 10 suns, and because it was so damn hot, the guy like shot down 9 of the suns, keeping one up. So literally a sun bringer. And I think in like real Chinese history, there is an emperor named Yi Xuan, I think. And the way emperors work in China is that your name gets passed down as like, a right of succession, which again, coming back to the how, if we're assuming that maybe if it is not earned, but maybe through succession and bloodline, Yi Xuan in real Chinese history was the one emperor who didn't earn it through succession. Like for some or other reason, I can't remember exactly what, but he was able to maintain his title and like keep his name as the emperor of his time, and like it wasn't passed down. He wasn't earned. Like he was the one, and so that's why some people are maybe thinking that this Yishuan in game might also have ties to earning this title of Sunbringer and whatnot. But again, that's just we don't know.
That would be really sick. My only counterpoint to that is that I don't look at leaks, by the way, so I will just say that. So don't confirm or deny what I'm about to say. But I would have to assume that since we've seen Jufufu, that we'll also see her master in the same patch, because I'm assuming Jufufu is the A rank and her master will be the S rank.
Yeah.
If they are the characters for whatever 2.0, if they skip to 2.0 or whatever 1.8, I do not see Yishuan being a Void Hunter at all, because it would be way too early to get another Void Hunter.
Yeah.
Unless they do a cool situation, which I would be down for, where she's not a Void Hunter, and she will be someone else that we get another S rank for in the future, and basically we get to see her do a feat to earn the title of Void Hunter, and then they can release a Void Hunter like variation. Because technically we do know that there are not the mantle of every Void Hunter has not been taken up. There is a lot that are covering like quote being covered in dust, like they haven't been fulfilled. There's no successors. We can assume that there's at least minimum 3 active Void Hunters, Miyabi being one of them. So the other 2 have to be very special. So I'm not opposed to it being Yishuan or Yishuan, but it would have to be, it'd have to make sense.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, company wise, like would they make this very next agent or a Void Hunter so soon?
I do like the idea though, like that you have to earn the title of the Void Hunter, and maybe we could be there when that title is earned, because that would be sick.
Yeah,
as opposed to just
it would be cool to witness.
Yeah, as opposed to just being told about it, like being able to play through a part of the story with that character or something, or maybe like you said, as like maybe they join in one variant and then we get like a follow-up variant, kind of like A rank Anby, S rank Anby. Like they join in and we get one variant of the character, and then like 6 months later, like they do something awesome like in game, and we get to play it, and then they earn the title. That would be sick.
Yeah, I really like the idea.
Yeah, I'm so down. Any other Void Hunter stuff we want to chat about, guys?
I hope the next Void Hunter is a stun agent, so Gamer can eat his words.
What's that? What did you say?
Yeah,
I hope the next Void Hunter is a stun agent and they become the best agent in the game, so you can eat your words.
Why would I eat my words? Why would I be upset?
Because of your video that stun agents are useless.
Well, yeah, I mean, certain types of stun agents are less useful than other types of stun agents. But I mean, if you watch the video, Kete, you would understand. But it's all good. Yeah.
That was your second view.
I mean, the only thing that I can like bring up about Void Hunters is we should ideally, hopefully, please, get more information on the original Void Hunters soon.
They've been dropping a lot of name drops.
Yeah, I would like
they've
that.
been teasing it with the Lost Void story, and where it's ramping up. It's ramping up real good right now. And they have mentioned the Dark Wall multiple times, so we should also simultaneously get lore on the Dark Wall when we also get information on the other Void Hunters.
And they're clearing out Scott Outpost so we can see Hollow Zero more clearly and stuff like that. So
yeah, I thought it was really funny. I said I was rating Trigger's agent mission a 0 out of 10 because when we go to the Remembrance Day thing, they don't put the bridge back. No, they don't have it back. That's why I was like, shit, agent mission. Like this at this point in time, the bridge is still there. Like, and actually, I could talk about another thing about that is the art is actually incorrect. Funny enough. They're like, chat was like, stop loring, just experience the moment. But when the image of you seeing her squad clears up and you see that final image, the gear that they're wearing is Obsidian Division, which is actually incorrect. They should be wearing Chrysoberyl Division wear, because they were not a part of Obsidian Division at the time. They were in Liar Squad of the Chrysoberyl Division. So artists, fix it.
How dare they?
I know.
I think
How
that
dare thou?
there's been a couple mistakes with art. I remember Miyabi's eyes were like the wrong color in like her animated thing. I think.
Yeah, I think I mean it's little small things. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's
still
little
some
things.
art where there's still some art where Belle's eyebrows are gray, as they are in game. In her in-game model, her eyebrows are gray. And then in a lot of art in game, her eyebrows are blue. In some it's still gray. In some it's like a gradient. So it's like I mean there
She
are
dyes
some
them. Sometimes she
differences in
forgets.
art.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shanna, were you going to launch into something just a sec ago, or did I?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like touching the Voidhunter stuff. I, I highly doubt this is a real thing, but I saw so many people speculating about it, about the Voidhunter stuff. No, we are not a Voidhunter. Like because they saw Phaethon with wings and they're like, oh, one of the three that held back the wall. I think the girl with pink hair had wings on it. Maybe we're a descendant. No, we're not.
Yeah,
At least I
no,
don't think so.
No,
Hey,
I like the
hold
theory
up.
more that Nicole is a descendant of her than we are.
Yeah, just because they have pink hair.
Let them cook.
I mean, Nicole is she's clearly going to get an S rank. I think it would actually be really funny if she was adopted by the Mayflowers, because we know from her thing that she was adopted by a very prestigious family before she got adopted, and then she immediately ran away from the family. But because we know how many connections that she has with everyone, it would kind of make sense if she was kind of sneakily getting them through like the documents from the Mayflower family, because they are quite literally the mayor. Like that's the highest family you could be a part of. So I do like the theory that she was adopted from the Mayflowers and then ran away, and that's how she has like secret weapon tech and shit.
Bro, it was months ago I brought this on a very old podcast in the past, but it was months ago I saw a video in my recommended, and it was that pink-haired girl from that video talking about the Voidhunters from ZZZ, and someone in the thumbnail put Nicole's mom, and I was like, bro,
It's such
if
good
that's
bait,
actually
though. Yeah.
if that's actually Nicole's mom, that's wild.
I mean, the generations, it can't be her mom, but it could be her like great grandmother or great great grandmother or
pink
whatever.
hair.
Oh.
Pink hair doesn't seem that rare in the world of ZZZ, though. I have to say. So
True.
I think it's a
No.
leap.
Yeah, Ash.
No,
Or,
go on.
yeah, we can go on.
Nicole
I was gonna say
becomes the-
there's this small little like theme thing that Ash Guy points out where they kind of make Nicole look like have devilish themes because she has like the tail and the little like headband that she has kind of looks like horns.
Yeah.
And because of that, like she's the opposite of the pink-haired Voidhunter because she had wings, so it's like angel and devil.
Oh, interesting.
But
Well, that
yeah.
kind of ties them a little bit closer, though. Honestly.
Yeah, there's like if you go on Reddit, there's like it's like a 3-page like theory of how Nicole could connect to that Voidhunter.
I mean, bro, like the cunning hairs, I can see Nicole and Billy both getting an S rank version.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's definitely been hinted
They
that Billy.
100% will.
Yeah, it's definitely been hinted that Billy's gonna get one.
I mean,
Right?
did you see the what's it called, the Starlight Night EP the other day?
Oh yeah,
That shit was amazing.
Dude.
I like the bit at the
I
end
pointed
where,
it out on Twitter too, but
yeah, I like the bit at the end where
Doesn't-
Anby and Nicole are just sat there like setting up his camera for him. You know?
yeah, they were filming him. You know, he was begging them to film him.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I pointed it out on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, Billy, Anby, and Nicole are the only A ranks to have both a teaser and a demo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Other A ranks don't get that. So I would bet my life on the fact that we will get an S rank of both of them in the future.
Hey, bro, I think if Billy became an S rank, he should be fire because there's a picture of Lighter, and you can tell it's Billy right behind him. I can find the picture for you, but it's an official ZZZ artwork. It's officially made from by ZZZ, and I'm like, yo, is this them teasing that if Billy became an S rank, he would be a fire agent?
See, that's an interesting thing that I think is cool, is that the way that they technically have the power system in the world, they could very easily switch the elements of agents. Like Anby doesn't have to be lightning. All of her lightning stuff comes from the backpack that she wears and like the swords that she has. It's not coming from her. Same with Soldier. The flames, she literally creates the sparks by putting it into the like side of the backpack, and it ignites like that ignites the oil or like whatever that comes out of the
And
backpack.
it's not like they can't use other, because in Anby's story, I don't know which one it was. It was either Anby or Soldier 11, but there's that scene where one of them uses both swords. Like it's not like I can't use the electric sword.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Soldier uses it in the Anby agent mission.
Yeah.
She uses both of them. But like again with Billy, there's nothing saying they could not give him a flamethrower, right? He uses a pistol. That's why he's physical, but they could easily give him something else and change his element entirely. But yeah, that's the question is, if we get an S rank Billy, would you rather it be a Starlight Knight variant or like him being the champion of the Outer Ring variant?
Starlight Knight.
Ooh.
No
And
question.
Outer Ring.
Yeah, I knew you would say that, but I would say the other one.
Wait, what did you say?
Champion of the Outer Ring.
Oh, champion of the Outer Ring. I really hope it's a Starlight Knight one.
Yeah, I hope it's a Starlight Knight one as well.
So you can get like full geek out on like his.
Yeah, I
Let's call
think
his
I think
kayfabe.
Billy would prefer that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, just imagine the ult. It was literally be him doing a power up. Like imagine him being like getting a whole different stance in his ult because
Yeah,
he
I
does
found
the
the
full on transformation.
I found the
Oh,
picture.
that art.
Oh yeah,
that's
he-
100% Billy.
yeah.
That is 100% Billy. He literally has the guns and the guns saying bang. Like that's 100% Billy right behind Lighter.
I believe you. Okay. Well, I don't think we can go too much longer, guys, because I need to go to sleep. But
Yeah, you're good.
I think this has been a really cool conversation. I guess normally we don't talk about story and lore all that much, but we should probably indulge Shanaha more.
Dude, it's 3 a.m. and I am beaming from ear to ear.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I'm hopefully I didn't take like too much of the conversation. It was glad.
No,
to,
it was
talk about lore with you guys.
It was great. Yeah, it was really good. But I guess because we don't normally talk about that stuff, and we normally talk about like who we're pulling and like why, and like the types of teams we're building and stuff. Who are you pulling? Who are you looking forward to? Did you pull Trigger as?
I have made a promise that I will pull every single character in the game.
Okay.
I will not pull for all of their W engines. I will only pull the W engine if I really like them. But yes, I'm pulling every character. But I did pull for Trigger's W engine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is quite good, I guess. But yeah,
I don't care about like like if it's good or not. I
do
guess.
you like playing?
It's just if I like them, I want to have them.
He needs
fully
the glow in
equipped.
the hair.
yeah. Who do you like?
Yeah,
playing?
exactly. Right now I have still been doing the Evelyn, Astra, Evelyn, Coleta, just because Evelyn is so much fun.
Yeah, everyone's awesome.
And then I do also, I did pull everything for Anby because I love Anby. And while I think from what I'm hearing you say, you think she's dog shit, but I think she is brain dead fun to play.
I don't think she's bad. She's great. I just yeah, she's great. I like Andy.
Yeah. Okay. What do you not? Okay. Is it from a meta perspective, like her stats could be better, or you just don't like the way she plays?
And yeah, I just don't really like the way she plays. I think that there is like there is like tech to her. But I hate. I feel like you have to turn the damage numbers off so you can see the little blue bar thing properly, and then I like playing with the damage numbers on. And then I also, I feel like it's really easy to overcap it and then like not realize you've overcapped it. You can just turn your brain off, I guess. But I think, she's fine.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that increases that, right? Like increases the buildup of that bar.
No.
Okay, I was gonna
It's
say.
fixed
So
all the different attacks, yeah.
Yeah, every
the
tech
way
has a
that I
fixed
do
rate.
it, I know I can't see it, but I just know every fully completed auto attack fills it
It's
up by
half.
1.5.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So
I
you
know
just
that
do
by
two
the
of
time I
those.
do like 2, yeah, then it's basically 3 bars. And then
Yeah.
I'll do that, and then I'll do my hold skill, and then just do it again, and then ult, and then do it again.
I think the thing is that I
But-
kind of wish that I liked the way that she played a little bit, to be honest. But yeah, because I do really like her character. But I think for me, it's more gameplay and how a character plays, which is also why I'm really excited that I have Trigger, because you barely have to play her and she's a stun agent.
Yeah, she is super sick. Her animations are great, and I love the fact that when she's doing her aftershock attacks and you swap over to her, she doesn't go to your position. You teleport to the last position she was at while doing the aftershock attacks. It's really cool.
Oh, that is really cool. I didn't even realize. Anyway, I guess the follow up question is this our first podcast post Trigger?
Yes.
Okay, so how are we all feeling about Trigger then, boys? Just quickly before we wrap up, we do need to wrap up. Shanna?
I like her. She's fun. She is, I think, the best implementation of an off-field agent yet, because even though she's an off-fielder, like as said, she has the animation, so she's actually still visible, and she's not like Astra where she just like, pisses off for the entire fight.
Hey, she's singing though, like Kete.
This is a comment from Gamer's video today. I love the arc of going from guys, stunners are kind of not that good right now, to guys, I just got the latest stunner in her engine. Gamer, want to explain?
No, I just got the latest anomaly support and her engine.
You mean you have to use support?
I just got an anomaly support that I can play entirely off field. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I just got Astra 2.
She's not Astra 2.
No, she's not. She's Astra -1. I'm joking. But no, yeah, I did explain that in the video. So yeah, but like as someone as anomaly pilled as me, pulling Trigger, like I wanted to take a 50 for Trigger, and I also explained this in the video as well. I took a 50 for Trigger, and it just happened to go so well that I was like, I might as well get her engine. And yeah,
I wish I could have said the same.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. But yeah, and then the idea of having a support that's like not as good as Astra, but that can be used with anomaly teams, and I'm really excited to run more Hypercarry Yanagi, more Haramasa, more, like I'm excited to run the teams that I wanted to play anyway. So yeah, and she kind of enables that.
She enables Nekomata too as well, by the way.
Yay, Nekomata.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
But anyway, Kete, how are you feeling about Trigger?
Good character. Was able to get the max score, so I'm happy.
Let
Happy
it
with
be
that.
known that Kete just posted an image of him getting the full 65k.
Oh,
with,
yeah, I see that.
Anby, Trigger, and Astra.
And then I'm going to say, M2 Astra goes hard.
Yeah, it does. But my friend Black Ace, he got the 65k with all M0.
Oh, that's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive.
That is impressive.
Mhm.
I just used my M6 Miyabi.
Okay, well, I need to go to sleep, boys, because it's really late here. But it's been real hanging out. Shall we just go around? Everyone can say what they do, what they get up to. Let's start with you, Az, because you're the guest. Where can people go to watch your stuff and hang out?
Yeah, so I mostly stream I dual stream, so you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Azrial Vanity. And then, yeah, like I said, I have videos planned, but mostly just stream the Zenless playthrough, like literally everything, all events and everything. So if you want to chat about lore, come into stream, and we will do that.
And you do another podcast as well?
Yes, there's the Proxy podcast that we do with Age, KK, and Jeshua. We do it bi-weekly, and we also have guests on every time. And we're also on Spotify now. All episodes are on Spotify, and I think soon Apple Music and other streaming platforms. But you can find it on YouTube, which on Jeshua's account for the edited versions, the cut down precise ones, or if you want to just listen to the full 3-hour ones, then you can just watch the live stream on any of our channels.
Cool. Awesome. Kete, where can people find you? What's your stuff?
Obviously, Cut to the 7th on YouTube. Start streaming daily videos. Check me out on Twitter, Cut to the 7th as well. And yeah, we just have a good time. Come join the Discord too.
Okay. And Shanaha?
Yeah, Shanaha on YouTube, Shanaha_VT on Twitch for all of your news-related stuff to keep you up to date with everything that's happening in Zenless Zone Zero, and the occasional guide and geeking out on lore videos, and occasional highlight videos as well on YouTube.
Cool. And I've been Average Like Gamer. You can find me on YouTube where I make videos about pulling the agents that apparently I shouldn't have pulled. Average Luck Gamer, and then I'm on Twitch at Avluck Gamer. And there's also a cool fun Discord where you can hang out and talk about builds and stuff. But you should also like and subscribe to this podcast. This is Losing the 50, and it is its own separate channel, and we are available on Spotify as well if you want us on the go. Everyone, it's time to say goodnight. Bye, everyone. Bye. Say bye. Bye. Bye.
Yes, bye. And I will say thank you.
3:30 a.m.
for
Good
inviting
night.
me.
Go to sleep.
All right,
Yes,
yeah.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.